We are on another section of our text, the training the mind text in 7 points. And so we're back to developing bodhicitta under the umbrella of not ultimate bodhicitta, but conventional bodhicitta, this wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all. But under this section, it's interesting because what we're doing is we're learning how to transform our difficulties into the spiritual path. So I would say this is really the training of a spiritual warrior. What do you guys think? I think so. A real spiritual warrior would be someone that takes problems and transforms them into um, into beautiful things, into um, causes for our own awakening, unafraid of hindrances, unafraid of difficulties and problems. In fact, one book was written about this practice, and it's called Transforming Problems into Happiness. I like that, but I thought maybe that's going too far for the beginning to title the whole thing that. I thought, but that is the point. So the real point is you're learning to transform your problems into causes of happiness. You're transforming difficulties into compassion, into patience, into deepening wisdom. And those things, those habits in the mind, are the habits that bring us happiness. We really are transforming problems into happiness. I know that's crazy, isn't it? We're transforming it. So the way you transform it is by looking at it differently. Looking at our problems as not something to resist, but something to transform and to sit with, to be with, so that we can then grow our capacity to be patient, to be loving, even though it's difficult. You know, uh, I was thinking about the verse. Well, I'll just share the verse with you. Hold on. I want you to read the actual verse from the root text. Environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness. Transform adverse circumstances into the path to enlightenment. When the environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness. Now, do you think that we're in a time where the environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness? I know. We really feel that right now. So I just feel like this is the perfect teaching for us in this moment, because I don't know about you, I've been grappling with how to deal with these circumstances that we see, where we see many people suffering and we don't know how to help. So what is the Buddhist response to it? You know, what, how do we respond? I think there are different ways in Buddhism that people respond, but what is it that we principally want to do if we're trying to be a bodhisattva or a spiritual warrior, however you want to put it, but a warrior for the good, you know? Well, I'm thinking that, well, I actually have been thinking about the fact that, talking about, about politics and the things that we find disturbing that we see around us. I think we have to check whether it's right speech or not and the results of it. and the intention behind it. So this is something we can check in our own heart, you know, because um, if we feel angry, that really isn't what Buddha says changes things. You remember the Dhammapada, the very beginning of it, one of the first verses, hatred never ceases by hatred, but only by love. This is an eternal truth. And even on a day-to-day basis, we could think, what is talking about this in this way? What is it doing? Does it do anything to help? Or does it cause me to feel anger and create the sense of otherness, self and other, right? Other. They are on the other side, you know, because we know that, you know, from this text, even our whole concept of exchanging self with others, thinking others are as important as us, realizing that there's no inherent self and other. You know, every problem really boils down to they're on the other side. It's me against you, and I'm more important. And that goes for, you know, arguments between family members with your partner. It's me versus you, and I'm more important, right? And then on a global scale, we see the same thing manifest. It's us and them. They're wrong. We're right. But I think spiritual practitioners, we have to try not to live in the falseness of that duality, that we are never against anyone. Do you know what I mean? We are against harm, and harm comes from delusions. Harm comes from the anger that torments people's minds, the hatred that torments people, the um, you know, those causes in the mind that make them act in ways that hurt others, you know? And and if you look back at our Tonglen practice, you know, taking and giving, this is really, to me, the most beautiful example of transforming adversity into the spiritual path, the most beautiful practice of doing it. And you can do it with anything all the time. You can say, the basic practice is that you want to take the suffering of others away. I will take it away. And then it transforms us and our heart into a more and more pure heart, like a diamond heart, I always say. You take the suffering, you breathe it in. If you do this as a meditation, you breathe in the suffering of others. And that dark smoke, you imagine, creates immense pressure at your heart, turns it into a diamond. But you know, diamonds, it's not coal it's not like coal turns into diamonds. I mean, but it's really much more immense pressure than that. It's like stuff happening way beneath the surface of the earth. Did you know this about diamonds? You probably did. But diamonds, they're actually created way down deep in the earth's mantle. That pressure, heat and pressure. And I'm talking about like a lot, not just a little bit of coal inside the mountain. It's not a little coal inside the mountain. It's like, whoa, so much pressure. And then what comes up as diamonds gets shot out when there's volcanic eruptions, those little bits. I mean, this is pretty fantastical, actually, to have these bits of diamond that happen from the most immense pressure. And the most immense pressure for us that we feel is when something is uncomfortable and we feel aversion or something is painful. Isn't that what happens? Like, even just like a few moments of discomfort is so hard for us to sit with. A few minutes of discomfort. extremely hard to sit with. And when we don't sit with it, what happens? We react out of aversion in a way that's harmful to ourselves and others. It's always harmful to ourselves because we create the karma to suffer in the future. And even if you don't believe in karmic in the way that Buddha explains it, we're at least causing those neurons to fire together. And the more they fire together, the more they wire together. So we're wiring ourselves to suffer more in the future. We react compulsively and we say something that we regret and we hurt others and we harm our relationships with others and we do damage because we can't just sit with adversity for very long. The painful feeling. This is actually such a profound but simple spiritual training to sit with it and not react. And then to decide how we're going to react. Actually, this is amazing. You cannot underestimate this when you break it down. This is training, real training. It's kind of like is it Tai Chi where you use the other's strength against them? Is that it? I did Kung Fu, so it was all like wham, bam, get you, man. I think Tai Chi is the one where you like, you know, they push and then you use their force against them, kind of thing, right? You're transforming their, oh, jujitsu? Ooh, maybe that's it. Well, I like it. Whatever it is, I like it. So they're coming at you and you use their force against them. You transform it, right? Now, if we do this in real life with our heart, it looks like someone is maybe saying something that we don't like, or something's happening that we don't like. And we sit with the pain long enough to breathe. Maybe we take a few deep breaths and we calm our mind. We take a few moments and then we think, actually, what I could do now is I could take this, like it's taking and giving. I could take this pain, welcome it, and make a prayer that by taking this pain, it relieves someone else's somewhere. So, this is the way to do taking and giving just in the moment, mentally, right? You say, you know what? This toothache, I can't do anything about this pain right now. The dentist can't see me until tomorrow, or something like this. So, in this moment, let me take this pain to give relief to someone else somewhere. May I relieve the suffering of others. We believe this is true. It really can work. Buddhists think this, that we can actually take the pain of others away in wishing to take it this way. May I take your suffering from you. May I take this pain and welcome it. May I take this so that I may bring relief to others. It's simple, but there is not a training more profound than when you're actually feeling pain, like someone has said something to you that hurts you, and then you think, may I take this pain to relieve the suffering of others. Let it bring relief to others. Somebody feeling this kind of pain, may it unburden their heart. And then you're able to sit with it and transmute it into something that is such a beautiful spiritual prayer. I would take it. And then you actually are becoming more patient. So I think our first step is just being able to sit with pain and not react from it. And then think about how it can be transformed. So, this will be your practice for the week. When pain arises, instead of trying to do something immediately to push it away, see if you can just breathe and sit with it and accept it. Just sit with it a little bit. And then, if you want to go really on the bodhisattva path with it, you could think, may I take this pain to relieve others feeling something similar? Or however you want to phrase it, you get the idea. May I bring relief to others. May this bring relief. It's going to be a prayer that comes from your heart and however you say it, but you get the idea. May I bring relief to others. And I think we have to believe that we are changing this world by changing ourselves, and that this is an important thing to do. I, for some reason, was having this thought one day recently where I thought, I wonder if you could figure out how many wars there were in a given time. It'd be so interesting to see how many holy beings also existed at that time. Would there be on this earth? I mean, you can't because we don't know who holy beings are necessarily. You know what I mean? Like there could be just unassuming people, but they're holy because they're so kind and so compassionate and helping others and train their minds in this way in whatever spiritual religion or whatever it is, they are out there. We know that. But I wish I could know if there were more wars or more holy beings arising. Like let's say the lifetime of a human in 80 years, does the earth experience the arising of more holy beings or the arising of more wars? We can't know. We can think, what would it do to the earth if more holy beings arose in an 80-year period of time than wars? Maybe I can be the next arising of a holy being that takes suffering away from others and gives back happiness and joy. Maybe I could do that. And I think it does start with being able to take pain and sit with it so we don't start thinking about being separated from the other, because that's what happens. You hurt and you're other and you're doing it to me and I'm more important. So for us as spiritual practitioners, it's thinking there is no other. There is no other, not to me. We can breathe in and take the suffering away from everyone. So if we take something, maybe that there's suffering in the world right now. We take something. We have to try to, I mean, you don't have to do anything, but what I suggest is if there's something that bothers you so very, very much, and you see this happening, you see it on the news, and you cannot bear it, could we respond with taking and giving for everyone involved? And if that means sitting formally and breathing in the suffering, and you're thinking about everything everyone is experiencing, right? Everything everyone in that moment might be experiencing. You're thinking about all of it from the side of the one perpetrating the harm you feel, Are they, trying to do their job, they think, and they're scared they're going to get fired, and they're feeling human emotions, which we have often felt. Can we breathe in their suffering? And then the karma, the people perpetrating harm towards others, you had said that they are an even greater object of our compassion because their suffering is just starting. They're bringing pain and suffering onto themselves for the future. It's just they don't see it now, but an avalanche is coming of suffering that they've just started the ball rolling. It's not happened, but it's going to happen. And so this is what I think, maybe this is a way that we can live in this world where we're thinking, wow, it seems like so many terrible things are happening. Seems like the world is getting so much worse, so much more dangerous, so much more full of hate. There's so many more people that hate and harm others. But I at least can be a source of love. We respond with love. At least that's what I think, um, is the way to move forward. Because on a one by one basis, everyone really is, I think, mostly very good humans on a one on one, on the one to one. There's more good than bad habits in humans. I mean, for save for maybe the stray serial killer with, maybe, but for the most part, good, so good. And, my neighborhood is such a testament to that for me because I am surrounded by people who think the opposite of me all the time. Case in point, I was walking the dog last week. I was by myself. So I was leading the sled, of dogs. And they're pulling and everything. And I see driving by, there's in the passenger window, like a sticker, with Trump's face on it in the passenger window. And then the passenger window rolls down and a smiling face says, "Hey, gorgeous." I thought, oh, wow, how kind and sweet. And she's always saying stuff like that to me, this lady. She's really, really sweet. And we do love each other, me and this lady that is, you know, 'cause we think differently perhaps, but it doesn't make us so different. It just if we think differently about certain things, a few things, um, and those things they are giving rise to great suffering in the world. There is no tolerance for hatred and for people's prejudice. It's not that we condone those things. We're not condoning those things. But I feel like our path has to be the one Buddha set out. Hatred never ceased by hatred, but only by love. Mm. I think Martin Luther King used something like that, didn't he? Which he had to have gotten from Buddha. Because him and Thich Nhat Hanh were friends. They were like buds, and he must have read a little bit. I don't blame him though, because I know in the heat of teaching, you don't always attribute everyone. And what was Martin Luther going to say, you know, at that time? Gautama Buddha said, but he did. He said something like that. Hatred doesn't drive out hatred, or I don't know. I remember hearing where I was like, oh, that's Buddha, I'm pretty sure. But good for you. You picked a good one. That's a great quote. But you know, I think that's a good sign for us to follow is that the way out is through love. Only through love. This is an eternal truth. And we see that Martin Luther King's actions and that whole civil rights movement, it did work and it did bring change, and it was through peace and love. And we don't know what we'll have to do, but we can prepare our heart now by learning to sit with suffering even just a little bit longer than we normally could, you know? So I want to go back to our taking giving meditation because this is transforming adversity, isn't it? And we know this meditation. I think mostly everyone's done it before, but I'll remind you the parts. You basically imagine, in this case, you're going to imagine a group of people suffering in a way that you find unbearable. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Doesn't that sound suspiciously like that from Buddha? Hatred never ceased by hatred, but only by love. Hmm. Maybe we'll meditate on that actually. We're trying to transform suffering. Okay, so what I want you to do is imagine something that you are experiencing in the world that you feel is unbearable. You can't bear it. You imagine all the people in this world experiencing it directly, indirectly, the perpetrator of harm and the one experiencing the harm. You imagine all together. And then you start breathing in the suffering that everyone experiences and try to really deeply empathize with all sides of the situation, what everyone is experiencing from both sides. So there's always the other side. And a lot of times they think they're doing the right thing, the side perpetrating harm. And that avalanche is just about to be set in motion of their future suffering. And so you breathe that in. I want to breathe in the future suffering that those perpetrating harm are bringing on themselves right now. And breathe that in. Breathe the harm in that people are in this moment experiencing. And breathe that in. And then once you breathe it all in, imagine it's deep down in the core of the earth, your heart, and your heart transforms into this beautiful diamond filled with light. And then you send out light to everyone involved. Then you send it beyond into the whole earth, this earth, everyone on earth. And then you imagine everyone on earth experiences peace, health, ease. You're giving that to everyone. And then send it out further to all beings in the whole universe. And we'll do that for a little while. And then your daily practice will be, if you so choose, it's going to be try to sit with suffering without reacting. That's the number one, without reacting in a negative way. See if you can manage to do that even a little longer than you would normally, and just be able to hold on to it and not respond badly. Take a minute, do breathing meditation. If you can think of it and you want to do it, you can do taking giving. May I take this pain I'm feeling so that it brings relief to others feeling the same way. Okay, let's try it. Check that your back is nice and straight. Your shoulders are dropped and relaxed. Breathe through your nostrils, but breathe deeply from your diaphragm. relax, and come into the present moment. To begin, choose something that's happening in the world now that you find very hard to bear, some suffering that really moves your heart. And imagine that all those suffering from this circumstance, this situation in the world, appear before you. Just imagine you get a window in to their suffering. Begin by contemplating the suffering of those experiencing the harm being done to them, or through sickness or whatever it might be. You're going to continue to contemplate their pain and suffering for a few minutes. And imagine that it starts to draw their pain from them as dark smoke. The compassion at your heart, it's drawing it away with every in-breath. Please imagine their pain vividly. What do they feel? What are they thinking? What do they fear? Buddhist masters tell us that with faith in this practice and sincere wish to take others' suffering away, we do in fact lessen their suffering. You're going to continue to breathe suffering away from others as dark smoke. But now think of all those involved in this. Think of those who perpetrate the harm. Think of their suffering both now and in the future. And draw it away. Hatred never ceased by hatred, but only by love. Buddha said this is an eternal truth. So please contemplate this meaning, or whether you believe it's true or not, and what it means for you and your practice. Imagine that the dark smoke you breathed in creates immense pressure on our selfish impure mind. And our mind transforms into a diamond of light. The light of loving kindness. Now send out infinite rays of love to all the beings suffering before you right now. Imagine it gives them everything they need for peace and ease. Send rays of light from every pore in your body, rays of love to everyone in this world. And then rays of love to all beings everywhere. May everyone be happy. Send that ray out to every being. May all beings have happiness and its causes. And this ray of love, may all beings be free of suffering and its causes. And now start to relax your concentration. Let any visualization fade from your mind. And slowly arise from your meditation.
When the world cries and sorrow